Welcome, MASKast agents, to another edition of MASKast Chat. We are live and eager to discuss Revolution, M.A.S.K, and the other entities of Revolution. I know we want to dig deep, but first off, I want to go around the virtual room and introduce ourselves. You've got Wyatt here on this end, and you have my buddy down south.
Hello.
That's
Can you hear
Jason,
me?
by the way. He doesn't know his cue marks when he's looking at it.
Well, the Venom's been running so much interference that I'm not sure you guys can hear me, but we'll see. How are you, Wyatt?
Yes, I am well. How are you down there in the south?
Still hot, waiting for it to cool off. Hopefully it will be soon.
Yeah, decided to get warmed up here, so I took Old Red out for a little spin.
Nice, nice, nice.
So,
we have a guest.
yeah, and then I had to fight it. Yes, we do. We have a returning guest. We shouldn't call him a returning guest, a returning agent. Erik Tukey over at boulderhill.net.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello,
How are
Erik.
things over on that side of the coast?
They're good. We caught a mini heat wave also. It was like 90 degrees here today, so
You have a
Also
mini heat wave
warm.
permanently, so what are you talking about?
Yeah.
true.
Do you guys ever drop below 70 throughout the year?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
At
Like-
night, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, no, it'll drop below. It'll start dropping off and staying below. Yeah, it'll get below 70 most days through until like February. At least for part of the day.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, we're about to hit our and some big air quotes here, but we're about to hit our rainy season, which is pathetic and minimal and whatever. But we'll get a couple of days with some rain, and so it should actually cool off a bit. So
Nice.
I don't know. Other than that, I've been just trying to keep up with Revolution
Mm-hmm.
because it's a lot. I don't know about you guys. I'm not following the other titles. I'm not following Action Man or Micronauts or ROM or Transformers or G.I. Joe. So just doing the main core title, and then I'm doing the M.A.S.K series, which so far we've only got the one shot.
Right.
So,
I
which is
think
what we're here for,
about the
right?
same. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I think we had hoped to have Bill also on the line from MattTracker.com, and he might join us a little bit later. But I think for the most part, really make too many notes. I didn't really have an outline for this show. I usually don't for the chats. So I thought it might be fun for us to, well, Erik, you did a review or have been doing reviews on your website. I know Bill did a little mini video podcast on his thoughts. But just for the sake of having all three of us here, I thought we could go around the room and kind of talk about our, maybe I don't want to say expectations, but
Impressions?
impressions and our kind of experience that first day when it came out.
You talking about the M.A.S.K one
I'm
shot
talking-
or
yeah.
Revolution?
No, let's talk about the M.A.S.K comic
Sure.
mainly, and then we'll dip into Revolution because I know Wyatt's been trying to keep up. I'm up through number 2 and a couple pages of number 3 in Revolution, but yeah, mainly wanted to talk about the M.A.S.K one shot just because that was the hype, for months. Seeing concept art, finally getting a little bit of the vehicle art and such in the week or 2 weeks leading up to the release. So let's start with Wyatt.
Do it.
Well,
Wyatt,
actually,
are you
I
there?
liked.
Okay.
I'm here. I was very eager to see this come to the comic books. I know we talked about it off and on through the MASKast chats and even the brief intros. But I was eager to see what this was about. As many of you know, if you don't already, I'm not the comic book fiend that Erik might be, but I was still wanted to see what was in here. You know, I just figured, what the heck. So overall, I'm very pleased. If you've read my blog post article about it, there's a little ticks here and there, but overall, I am very pleased. I enjoy the nod to the 80s era vehicles. It's very intriguing how the story plays out. And really, the artwork is fantastic. Like I said, I'm not I'm no comic connoisseur, I guess, but the artwork is very, very well done for what it is. I'm really eager to see what else they bring out. I'm hoping that they keep it. Glancing over the Revolution 2, I'm about 2/3 of the way through that, and I'm actually pleased at how it's kind of coming together in Revolutions 2. I'm not trying to get too into depth with it, but you know, I was the negative person, the pessimist person when it came to combining the universes. I just didn't see it happening. I know Bill kind of called me out on it, saying, you know, we did it when we were kids, and he even said that, you know, I'd have only Condor playing with Optimus or something. So I didn't think it would work out in the movie business, comic book. I just didn't see it working out, but it actually looks like it's a promising storyline. So that's overall, like I said, I'm pleased with what's come out with
cool.
The M.A.S.K series.
Okay, Erik, you had probably the best experience, at least the opening day. Tell us a little bit about your little trip. Take us through that day to go up to this comic shop and actually meet the writer.
Yeah, well, luckily, as much as I work, I do have some flexibility, so I was able to start my day late on that Wednesday. It's been almost a month now, hasn't it? So I went down to a local, well, semi-local, Los Angeles-based comic book store, and where I was fortunate enough to get to meet Brandon Easton, who I almost have to assume anybody here knows that he's the writer for the M.A.S.K comic book. And I was there pretty early because I did still have to get back to work, and it was a little bit of a drive. It was still about 30 minutes away, with LA traffic being what it is. But got to meet him. Really friendly guy. It was really cool. I picked up a lot of copies. I picked up about 10 copies. I think I picked up 10 copies of the M.A.S.K one shot. A handful of them are for me. I was able to get, for anybody who's tuning in, watching, and hasn't seen on my website, I was able to get a copy of each of the variant covers. There's one. There's the Tommy Lee Edwards one. Here's the really exciting blank white retail sketch one, which I guess the idea is that if you go to a convention or bump into one of the artists, they could do a mass sketch for you. And then there's also this cover. So the regular cover is the Tommy Lee Edwards cover, and I was able to pick up a bunch of copies of it signed. And one of the things I'll be doing is that, and I had kind of teased about it earlier, but I was able to get up the details yesterday, that I will be giving away 2 copies of M.A.S.K #1 that have both been, or each has been signed by Brandon, and those will be going out to some winners that I select, and it's pretty easy to enter. All I ask is that you write me a short little email and tell me your favorite memory of M.A.S.K. So I've gotten a few people already. Happy to hear from you guys if you want, but unfortunately, Jason, Wyatt, you can't win. So I'm going to tell you, tough luck on that.
Do you take PayPal payments?
I'm sorry?
Do you take PayPal bribes?
PayPal bribes. Oh, I don't know about that. We'll have to. We'll discuss
Go
it.
give one away and just you name your price and I'll get one off of you.
Yeah. We'll have to. We'll talk about it in the wrap up meeting in the green room, right? We'll figure
Yeah,
it out.
I guess I've won enough prizes from the M.A.S.K community lately, so I'll let that slide out.
So the signing itself seemed to be pretty good. Like I said, Brandon was literally still setting up his display when I got there, so I can't give a fair assessment of like how successful it was, how many books he sold out of, because I was early. So but that being said, I was there for about 15 or 20 minutes, and even in that time, he had a number of people who were there picking up the book, and more than that, there were some people who it clearly was something that they had expected to see, and that they were looking forward to getting. It wasn't just that, I'll grab it. So there were definitely people interested in it. So the signing was really cool. The book itself, wow. I did write a pretty lengthy review of the first of the one shot for my website, but happy to kind of touch on that again. I think it's a great start. I really liked it. I think my biggest complaint is that we don't see the full sort of mask. We just don't see Mask as the completely realized incarnation that we're all used to from the show, because the one shot is really a lot about setting it up and building groundwork. And I think it's really valuable because we never had that in the cartoon. We never had any real background, and the little bits and pieces they threw out through the show kind of conflicted. And then there was also the mini comics that had conflicting backgrounds. So
yes,
I really love what they've done. I think that M.A.S.K fits really seamlessly into a universe with G.I. Joe and Transformers. If you've been following Revolution, are we trying to keep this spoiler free?
No, because I want to talk about some specific details. So
Okay.
let's just go ahead and, if you haven't read the book, go get the book and then come back and listen to the show.
Yeah, this is the moment you click pause.
Yeah.
M.A.S.K has frequently been described over the years as a hybrid of G.I. Joe and Transformers. In that it's got the sort of paramilitary people and the transforming vehicles. It's not an inaccurate description, and that's exactly how they're kind of playing it in the comics, which I love. It's really seamless. Sometimes in comics and in other things, they have crossovers and they feel forced, and I don't think there's anything about that in what they've done so far. I think that the decision to change Matt to be younger, to be a slightly different personality, he's still a leader, but he's more of a leader realizing he's a leader. He's not established in it yet. Right. Sets him up to have a better dynamic with Miles, because the only way that Matt, can be can work with Miles in the beginning and not also be a bad guy is if he's naive. I think that's the only way. And that's the way that Brandon has portrayed Matt. He is naive and idealistic. And he has, in the story, I guess, they've kind of established that Miles knew Matt's father. And that seems like it's going to come into play later. I don't know. Did you guys get that impression too? Like the history?
I kind of got that impression.
Yeah. There is some kind of history with his dad, and there's some incident that's happened that hasn't been revealed yet.
And his dad's dead. And I suspect that Miles Mayhem may have been at least around for that event that caused the death. Anyway, but because of that, Matt trusts Miles. But even already in the one shot, and then sort of into the getting into Revolution, we're starting to already see that trust breaking down, where Miles is taking the Mobile Armored Strike Command team and moving them in directions that Matt's not comfortable with. And I love this setup because it really makes it explains the personal level to what will obviously be Venom and Mask, that personal vendetta between each other, because you're never as upset with someone as you are as with someone who betrays you.
Right.
And Brandon clearly gets that with the way he's writing it. So I really, really happy. I hate that we still have a couple more weeks to wait. I think that's probably like the worst part of this. I'm just like, give me what you've got. So
Right.
and then not to sell the art short, but the art is great. It's really fun art. It's really dynamic, great colors, and I think that the art is just the right mix of modern and respect to the source.
I'm with you there. And I pretty much agree with everything that you've said up to this point.
Good, because I'm right.
Not saying that I might have a few little things here and there, but we were talking about for so long. I mean, you remember on our M.A.S.K Day chat, when those first 4 or 5 pages or whatever was released, I had to read them. I couldn't wait. So I was very excited to get my hands on a copy, to see it on the shelf. I took a couple pictures. I went to there's 2 comic shops pretty close to me that are essentially across the street from each other, and I visited both. Nice. And I put I took some pictures, put those up on social media, and with our review that Wyatt
I saw one
and
of them,
did.
I think.
Yeah, Wyatt took some pictures too. You went to a comic shop, right, Wyatt, and grabbed a few copies. So
yeah, I have 3. I have 2 of one and 1 of the other. I don't remember which ones.
Well, I have. I got pre-ordered all of the variant covers and such online, and then I actually went and bought a couple copies at each shop that I visited.
See,
didn't find
you're just
the one,
as bad as I am.
I know, and I was vowed to. Well, the thing was, those copies didn't get to me until like a couple days after it was released, and I'm like, I can't wait. I got to get it on that Wednesday.
I don't blame you.
That's that was killing me, so that's why I ended up going. But yeah, I think coming in, I was on the fence as far as how much of what we know, for those of us who have been fans for years, is going to be included in the book. Like what percentage, and I think everybody going into this book pretty much knew that there was going to be some changes. There was going to be some modernization of what we know. And I think, and a lot of us, I think we're ready to accept that this is a new spin. This is a fresh start. This is, 2016. And I went into that with that kind of mindset that let's see what's going to happen here. And like you, Erik, I can't wait until November now just to keep the series moving, because I think there is some level of I feel like M.A.S.K is kind of being held back some because they have to include so many properties in Revolution.
Right.
So we're not, and it's that, the main series is going to be for focusing on specific characters and backstory and all that, and I get that.
And also, we got, we've always known, and we've always been pretty upfront about facing this, but we have always known that G.I. Joe and Transformers are much heavier hitters than M.A.S.K.
True.
And Revolution has already, paid that out, and the books are focusing primarily on G.I. Joe and Transformers, and I'm okay with it.
Well, I am too, because I mean, that whole second issue, I felt like 80% of it was M.A.S.K.
The second issue was a lot of M.A.S.K. Yeah,
it was a lot, and I don't expect that level, throughout the whole series. And of course, M.A.S.K got a few pages in number 3, which is primarily bringing in Micronauts now. But I was really surprised at the level of M.A.S.K was included there, and it was very good, I thought. Just going back to the Revolution one-off, I don't know. It was weird to see Mayhem inside like Boulder Hill, and starting that out where he is the head of everything. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's weird. And then we see several of the agents. I think seeing Bruno was kind of a surprise, because in the concept art we only had Mayhem, Vanessa, and Rax. So we get another Venom agent in there. Right. I thought that was nice.
I was surprised that it was Bruno instead of Cliff Dagger.
Well, and that's my kind of more of a nitpick, I think, is that I'm still not certain which agents match up with which vehicles totally. They do kind of show that in Revolution number 2, and they give us some more details, code names, mask names of each agent.
Right.
It was a little confusing to see the 2 Transformers in some of those shots with the M.A.S.K vehicles, because I'm like, okay, what's this blue pickup? Is this the new Firecracker? No, that's Cup. Okay, yeah. So it kind of confused me there for a while until you kind of study the comic. But go ahead.
I suspect once the comic gets going and once the split occurs and Venom really develops, we're going to see more agents for both sides, because I can't imagine that Venom is going to be 3 and M.A.S.K is going to be 3. So I think my guess is that once maybe not issue 1, maybe by like issue 2, depending on how quickly the split occurs, though I can't imagine Brandon's going to wait that long because people aren't going to be interested in that. Then we'll see some of the other agents, and I'm thinking it kind of makes sense that Cliff Dagger wasn't in it, because he's supposed to be so dumb, and his personality is supposed to be like he would never be recruited. If that makes sense. Like you would never.
He's not the top of the top. Yeah,
you would never recruit him for anything except for the getaway driver. That you don't care if he gets caught. He's just not. You wouldn't go after him. But once you're kind of in a evil quasi-terrorist organization, your recruitment pool changes, and you take anyone dumb enough and willing to do dumb stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we might see some of those other agents in that sense. But again, we still don't even have the main series starting yet.
Right. And I agree with kind of where Wyatt was going and what you said about the nice nods to the 80s series. I thought that was a great scene with Rax, and him being the one saying that about, what is this, Antiques Roadshow? And you see the original Thunderhawk and Condor, and I think maybe Gator,
Rhino,
something in that shot. Rhino. And then, even though, like I said before, that I wasn't sure coming out of M.A.S.K Revolution number 1 which agents went with which vehicles, you could still pretty much define what vehicle is what just by the color schemes, and the same with the characters. They're keeping at least that consistency going, where they're mostly the same color schemes with their uniforms, masks, that sort of thing, to identify the characters. for those of us who remember the original show.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really good.
And besides Matt, pretty much all the characters look the same. Vanessa has the red hair with that kind of those black streaks, and Rax has his mirrored sunglasses, and Bruno's got his orange. I mean, the most identifying features are really there for them. Also, one thing that was kind of fun was that there's a couple of those throwaway characters in the issue,
right.
And they're really throwaway because they don't even survive to the end of the issue,
right?
But what was less interesting than them is that in the part where they die, they're driving Gator and Jackhammer.
Yeah, the old
and they're having they're having like a race or
see, and I didn't totally understand that. I think
it didn't seem like a race to me. It seemed like it was really just a test, more like a test bed for the characters, not so much racing. I guess it was a competition, but more of try these out, see if this fits you type of mentality.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got the line right here. It's Mayhem talking. It says recruits Evans and Watkins will make history as the first to test our unique weapons. So yeah, it's a weapons test, though usually you don't. Wyatt, I think you can back this up. You don't usually use the combat ready guys as the test dummies, right? Don't you usually have like a dummy?
Typically, you do that. Don't know what the mentality is on this. Obviously, no military training was involved. But yeah, you test dummies. You do the whole robotic or even whatever before you send in someone to kind of test it out. But then again, we do have test pilots. That's their job. When the F-22 and all the other fighters are tested, eventually they have to put someone in the can and hope it flies. So
fair enough.
I imagine that's where this is. It just basically fast forwarded. And that's the thing I guess I don't like about the comics, because I'm looking through it. I just finished Revolution 2, and it's like it's so fast paced to get it to the end.
Yeah.
I want some more details. I want some more in between stuff to fill in the gaps, because it's just, to me, it's too abbreviated.
And let me just say that's just sort of symptomatic of big events in comic books, that you don't really get a lot of the subtle, slower moments in the main book. And for the people who are really interested in that, they're hoping that you're going to go buy the main book. So you may have noticed that sometimes there'll be a little asterisk and it'll tell you like this happened in another title. And they're hoping you'll be interested enough in that to go check out that title. And I will be honest, I'm kind of interested in checking out Action Man after reading Revolution. I'm not really looking... I don't really care still about ROM or Micronauts, but Action Man has kind of piqued my interest, so I'll give it to IDW and the writers there for that. Wyatt, I wanted to ask you, as our just an opinion thing, as our resident kind of military expert here, is how you felt about that aspect of the M.A.S.K comic, the treatment of it, and did it feel like, who are they kidding? Like this isn't even close to the way things would get run, or you see what they're doing, you liked it. I mean, obviously it's going to have a lot of liberties, but
right, and that's just, I mean, this is more of the Hollywood or cinematic style of how things would go. And again, that's part of the disconnect for me is, like I said, it's so fast paced. You don't really get the in betweens that should be going on, the designs or so forth. But it's not, to coin a phrase, it's not inconceivable, but there is some plausibility to it. There would be some kind of military head over a team. Depending on what the team was for, if it was something like a special ops team, yes, it would be military recruits or something along those lines. If it's just truly testing out equipment, sometimes it's actually contractors that handle that before we get the military to actually, like I emphasize, you sit in the test fighter and hope it flies. But I don't know. If I know we're looking at the comic book, but comparing it to what Jason and I had wrote, we had a lot more military interaction and a lot more background military ties than what this emphasizes in this
Well,
comic.
I think just to kind of back up what is in the book, I like the background. I like adding Dr. Mindbender in there.
That was great.
Notice that.
Made
That's
sense too.
yeah. That's Mayhem going beyond his knowledge and asking kind of a psychology or
Right, when he was developing his profiles and training regimens for the agents. No, that's what I was saying about how seamlessly I felt like M.A.S.K integrated with G.I. Joe there.
Yeah, and that was really good. I thought that was something that Mayhem would want to do when developing this program. Essentially, is to bring in somebody to evaluate how people react and where their potential can go. And obviously by the end of the book, he's already got Vanessa under his wing, seemingly as the second in command. And then obviously Rax and Bruno will follow. But I thought that was good. I thought the way that whole situation worked out was really good up through the end, where they're kind of ready to go off, and when Scarlet comes on scene to go,
right.
and then that pushes right into Revolution. I thought that was very good. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from too, Wyatt, where it is more the the touchscreen kind of universe. I did like when Mayhem offs those two, throwaway agents. He's just using it was a thing on his wrist to activate. I guess to me it looked like those agents got locked into the seat, like their masks were. In other words, so they couldn't escape when he essentially detonated them. And even then, I think Matt calls out for those agents. It might have been the classic "no" line. I need to bring it up here, but I like. This is going back to what you said, Erik, about the origin story. There has to be some history. There has to be something there to create that tension, to create that separation that we're going to see in the original book.
Yeah.
Or the new series is what I'm saying. The solo series. There's got to be some kind of tension there. And we see that Matt treasures human life really from a young age, and it's probably because of whatever happened with his father.
Right.
So you see that that's really what Mayhem is plotting to use against him. Just like it was in that comic book where I think it was Matt's brother that died. There's some experience that turns, and then you get this tension above what's in the cartoon series, because it's more or less, good guys versus bad guys. The bad guys are committing crimes, and the good guys are trying to put them behind bars. Well,
Matt never loses any sleep though in the show.
Right. No. And in this one, it does go a lot deeper.
Yeah.
Mayhem is actually committing murder now, we see. Which is far above more what was going on.
I'm not sure whether or not he was deliberately killing those two people. The throwaway agents, because, and I think that's great. I think the ambiguity there is awesome. He definitely, is responsible for their deaths because he does activate that sort of secret watch device, and it kind of kicks the test vehicles into hyperdrive or whatever, and that's when they go out of control and explode. But we don't know if he wanted them to die or if he just said they're acceptable losses in the event that they do die,
Right.
which is what I thought it was originally.
It could be.
But that ambiguity, I think, is good because we do have more from Revolution than from the one-shot. We have what is sort of Mayhem's driving theme and force here is that he wants to save the Earth the way he thinks it needs to be saved.
Excuse me. Right. And we get a little bit of that in that prelude issue where he's got that Decepticon, or I guess it was a Decepticon tied up. Yes. And, he's essentially torturing the thing. And even at that point, I think I don't think it's Matt, but it might be somebody else that's like, that thing's still alive. Don't you have
Scarlet? Because Matt doesn't know he has him.
That's right. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, there's a certain level of planning there, and even what I've said before about Mayhem in this comic, it seems he's like 20 steps ahead of everybody.
Right.
Which just adds so much more to what's eventually going to happen when he finally just cuts the M.A.S.K team off.
Still there, Jason? Wyatt?
I hear him. I'm sorry, I don't hear him. I'm here.
You're here. Okay. Yeah, I assume he just went out for you as well. So,
I said about.
Oh, Jason. You're just rejoining us.
Okay. Where did I cut out?
You cut out about 10-15 seconds ago. You were talking about how Mayhem is always about 20 steps ahead, and that how you liked that.
Well, he's always. It seems like he's 20 steps ahead, and it's leading to whatever event is going to happen to split the two factions in the solo comic, and I think that's just going to be a major event that will cause a level of tension between Matt and Miles that even the cartoon show didn't have.
Yeah.
So, but I guess kind of going back to what Wyatt was saying about needing some more scenes in between. Again, too, this is M.A.S.K's origin in whatever it was, 28 pages.
Not even. It's only like 20.
Yeah,
right?
and we're getting maybe that in Revolution #2. So it's still early. And I'm trying to take that in consideration, too, because I'm excited. I want to see more. I want to see more interaction and backstory and all of that. So we're still way early.
Yeah.
And I'm anxious to dive into those first several issues of the solo series. Let me ask you guys, and I want to periodically kind of bring up a few things because I'm trying to hear the criticism too from some of the fans that are like our age and know the original series, original comics, that sort of thing real well. And for someone like me who I've only been kind of in the comic book realm for maybe about 2 or 3 years, we got the teaser way ahead of time that, okay, here's what the new agents are going to look like, and even some of the new vehicles. How do you guys feel about these covers and the variant covers pretty much showing classic, what I would call, quote-unquote, classic M.A.S.K, and not essentially portraying what's on the inside? I mean, is that a common thing for comic books nowadays to go classic?
You want me to take that one? Yeah,
'cause
covers
you
don't
know
count.
more than that.
Covers don't
Covers
count.
don't. Okay.
The industry has covers haven't counted it for a long time, ever since the variant cover thing became sort of an industry standard. People learned that the cover doesn't mean a thing, and the truth of the matter is covers never meant a thing. If you go back and look at old comics, they would have these weird sensational covers. They have almost nothing to do with the story on the inside. So for me, originally, it was confusing because I was like, which do any of these covers reference what the style is going to be on the inside? And ironically, none of them really did, because Tony Vargas, who's doing the art on the inside, doesn't do any of the covers, to the best of my knowledge.
Right.
So we never really got that hand. I can definitely understand, especially if you're not someone who's a normal comic book reader and isn't aware that the cover doesn't mean anything except trying to get you to pick it up, and that's what it's there for. I can understand people being a little bit bothered by it. At this point, having been around comics for 20-something years, I don't even blink an eye at it.
Yeah.
But maybe Wyatt can give a more fresh perspective on someone who doesn't buy comics and how he felt.
Yeah, you kind of knew a little bit too, though, right? What?
Not really. The only thing that I would imagine why the comic books are portrayed the way they are on the cover is really to grab our attention, especially us old fogies that remember their 80s style. So they know that they're going to catch that audience. If they were to throw a variant, the newer version of Rhino up there, a few of us might pick it up, but the bulk of us M.A.S.K fans, especially comic book entrepreneurs like Erik over there, you probably just pass it by and not blink an eye. But if you saw the original Rhino, the train would stop and you'd be like, hey, there's a new M.A.S.K comic book. What? So that's the only thing that I can think of is what's happening is they got to catch our attention, because otherwise I don't know that they're going to get the sales that they want.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what the covers are all about. The covers are about getting that book in your hand so that you might buy it.
Yeah. Well, and I think they're banking on us being the ones that recognize it. Oh, hey, check it out. And then we sharing with our friends and social media, blah, 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 that, hey, look what I found, and I found this. And then that's when the people that may not remember it kind of catch it, at a glimpse or something, and maybe do a little research and see, oh, okay, this is what it looked like back in the day. But I think I kind of agree with you guys where we all knew there was going to be different on the inside, and we knew that there was several different covers. I don't think any of us expected it to be a total classic series. Is it a little tricky to get people to pick one up? Yeah, it might be a little bit. I mean, that's a sales ploy. But I didn't have a problem with it. I loved seeing some of these, great variants that these guys have been doing, not just Tommy Lee Edwards, but some of the other ones.
The other thing
really
also is
that, and
it's a comic book. You pick it up off the rack. It's not like you can't flip through it right there and then.
Correct.
So it's not like it's not a complete bait and switch or anything there. So
no. And if you have seen some of the covers already for the new series coming out next month, you'll see that there's one cover of Matt and Miles standing back to back, that look like the new version on the cover. Yeah.
And that looks like it's drawn by Tony Vargas.
Right. So we know that there's going to be some representations of the newer version on the covers of the solo series. So I didn't put too much bank into that. It's more of a, okay, it's a sales ploy. We all know it, but it doesn't change my opinion of it. I'm not.
What did you guys think about the to talk about the vehicles is tough because we haven't really seen them too clearly. But what did you guys think about the updated outfits? Mostly, we just kind of saw Matt. We didn't get tons of great shots of the other agents in their mask uniforms, but except for that very, I guess, last page, we kind of see the profiles, and you can kind of see what'll end up being the good guys from Mask.
You're talking about in Revolution 2?
No, I'm just talking about in the one shot, just the
okay.
Mask issue. We saw them at the end.
Yeah.
We saw.
What?
Yeah, we see the four. We see the four that'll be the good guys.
Right. I'll let Wyatt go ahead with that one.
Well, like you said, Erik, there wasn't a great amount of detail or really a structured shot of the attire, but from what I can tell, the bulk of it really leans towards the originals. There's a few exceptions like Julio's, and I'm actually flipping through the pages to kind of make sure I'm catching them all right. Yeah, that's about the only ones I can see. So they look more like a throwback with very little modernization. There's a touch, but not a lot. I was actually anticipating a large variant. I thought they would really go all out with a different spectrum. Just I honestly was expecting unrecognizable masks. To be honest, that's what I was expecting. So I'm actually very optimistic of what they've done with it so far.
Yeah. The masks seem to be very, very close to the original, at least for the characters we've seen. What is a little different is the actual way the masks work, or work as weapons, I guess you would say. The way that we see like Stiletto shooting out like the darts or whatever, and then Spectrum is, I don't know. I think a lot of that might have to do with like it's just hard to draw a comic versus doing it in a cartoon. So to make it feel more dynamic, it does change things. Also, we still didn't see a lot of that. We only got like one page of it. But
Spectrum.
What did you think?
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What was that?
Oh, okay. What I was saying was there's that one page in Mask Revolution where Rex uses Stiletto and he fires like I don't know, some kind of weird thing at Gloria. It's almost like a glowing
spear.
Yes. And
yeah,
I think she catches it and throws it back at him, and then Matt uses Spectrum to disintegrate it. Basically, that shot of Matt in his gear and Spectrum in the bottom right, that really looks like the original Spectrum.
Yeah,
I think out of all of the shots. So yeah, it does look like. Well, I want to say Mayhem says in one point about the voice activation, something like that.
Yes, he does. He says that it uses like it has a whole bunch of different things that contribute to how it works, which I know you guys have always kind of poked at that when you're doing your reviews in the episodes, that hey, how come he didn't activate his mask?
Yeah, and there's all I'm looking for is some kind of consistency, basically. So they didn't. I mean, they didn't really use that voice command that they did before, but there's also, it looks like they're going to switch up a little bit of the capabilities as well, and a couple of them are going to. It seems like at least Julio's mask, which they are calling Gulliver. And Stiletto might have the same kind of abilities. But okay, so here's the thing. And this is what really kind of puts me over the edge, and I'm not trying to piss anybody off in particular, but as far as the fan community goes, M.A.S.K has this certain level of 80s campiness, cheese, whatever you want to call it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not going to translate into modern times. It's just not. If you're trying to start something fresh and new, you're just not going to include it. So they essentially, grate this layer of cheese off of M.A.S.K. And what I mean by the cheese, this is like a M.A.S.K called Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus on. That just sounds weird if you're going to use it in a modern comic. And so I don't mind so much the name changes like that. So I think they gave Brad his racing series M.A.S.K, right?
That's right. They give him. They call it Eclipse.
Eclipse. Okay, so that's more of a code name. That's a better name than Hocus Pocus. It seems like, right? I'm not stretching this too far, right?
No, I agree. But I think that it's a change that's still done with great respect and awareness of the source, because, like you said, Eclipse is his second M.A.S.K. So you wouldn't hit on that by accident.
Yeah,
that's them saying, let's pick the better choice.
And I think you hit the nail on the head with this. There is intention behind what they're choosing, which masks they're choosing, what they're calling them, and what their abilities are. There's intention there. So this isn't Brandon and Tony making some kind of mistake. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like they totally forgot what this character did or what their mask power was in the classic series. I really honestly believe they've done their homework, and there's some intent behind choosing this and that for the new series, for the new comic series.
Yeah,
so
I don't think Julio Lopez's mask being called Streamer was going to be.
Yeah, streamer or steamer. I don't know. I always got the
going to Gulliver is much better.
Right. So you're kind of getting rid of that kind of campy feel from the original series, and you're making it fresh and modern and using modern terminology more than that kind of cheesiness. So I get that. I understand that, and it doesn't bother me. Now, if I was a purist, I'm like, what the heck are they doing? Why are they making so many changes? It looks like Gloria is driving Firefly. And why does Firefly look like a VW bug and not a dune buggy? That kind of thing. I could nitpick this whole comic about stuff like that, but that's not what they're trying to accomplish with it. That's not what their intent is.
Right, and that's
my opinion.
And I think that's important to recognize. It's that they didn't make mistakes. Like they didn't do things thinking that they were being source accurate, and then it was a screw up. They made deliberate choices and changes,
right, for
their new rendition of the material. And one thing I think that's really important to recognize also is that the audience for M.A.S.K in 1985, 6, and 7, and the audience for this comic book in 2016, they're
totally different.
The M.A.S.K audience in the 80s was really shooting for boys from the ages of like 5 to 10. And this comic book is not for a 5-year-old any day of the week. This comic is for, at the best, I would say probably people who are 20 and up.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that your average, even like your average 15-year-old is not going to be buying this book. He's not going to care. And so to be aware of that is good, in my opinion. I don't think that's a fault of it. Like you said, look, if you want to just take every single moment where it is not exactly the same as the cartoon, you'll have tons of them, and you'll have a miserable time reading it, and just don't buy it. It's not going to be the M.A.S.K from 1986, 1985. That show is done. We all love it. The three of us talk about it way too much, but it ran for 75 episodes 30 years ago. and you can go watch those 75 episodes, and you can get the British comics and the American comics, and you can go and love all that stuff. But to me, I have no interest in trying to compare them from a nitpicking standpoint. There's just no value to me. I want to enjoy this for what it is, and for what it is, I think it's really fun.
Yeah. So and I agree that if you just look at it and you're like, man, this is too messed up for me. I can't follow. It's weird seeing mayhem at Boulder Hill, and you could stop there, and I won't fault you for it. But I don't know. I just feel like I feel like they've done enough to keep us happy in this being the first step to a comeback, and also enough modernization to it for somebody who's buying the book for Transformers or G.I. Joe to see them and their vehicles and be like, oh, let me check this out. Kind of like you're doing with Action Man.
Yeah.
There's a perspective there as well. Idea, and you have 20 whatever pages to grab their attention.
Right. And I do want to say, as much as I said that, like, I don't want it to be exactly the same and I'm not looking for it to be exactly the same as the original, I would have been disappointed if it was completely different. And
yeah,
that would have just sucked for me. If it was nothing but M.A.S.K in the name, I'd be really disappointed. If it had nothing and no references and respect to the original material, then why call it M.A.S.K?
Right.
There would be no point. And to me, this is a really successful blend of the modern and the vintage, the retro.
Yeah. Is that how you feel, Wyatt?
Spot on. He actually nailed it. I'm trying to think of the cliche. Sorry.
Hit the nail on the head.
That's the word.
That's the one.
Now, the other thing, again, this is, like you say, Erik, a modern take, different audience, older audience. And I realize they're not going to be using lasers. They're going to have some real, artillery.
Oh, I think we lost Jason again.
Hello, Jason.
Well, he has lost us. He probably thinks that he's still fine as his technology.
Number 2.
Jason?
Yep.
You're back. We lost you. Right after you said, I realized they won't use lasers.
Okay. Well, this is the modern take of it. They're not going to use lasers. They're going to be using artillery, real bullets. We've already seen, some people get hurt, killed, whatever, in Revolution. And, some of the criticism has been, well, some of these, there's just too many machine guns on there, and maybe Thunderhawk or Manta wouldn't even be able to fly just because there's so many guns on those things. It does look a little weird, doesn't it? And yes. Thinking about...
They're complaining that Thunderhawk can't fly. It's a Camaro. It has no aerodynamic design. I mean, sure, that's the reason it can't fly. Because it's got too much weight now.
Yeah, anyway, what do you guys think about what they've done with the vehicles in that aspect? I mean, does it still look like M.A.S.K to you? Do they have enough of a balance with the vehicles as well as the characters?
We only really saw the vehicles in Revolution 2, isn't that right?
Yes.
Right, and at the end of the one shot there.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna pull. I've got all the comics with me so that I can be up to date informed. Maybe Wyatt has some input while I refresh.
Well, I actually finally got through Revolution 2, and like you said, there's more. You see more vehicles presence in the Revolution 2, but if we actually go to our key solo comic book, The Mask Revolution, I don't think there was the right balance at all. It was just really hinting at it. You see the old, you see the test bed, and then there was kind of a new, maybe, was there even a new glimpse of, yeah, there was. And that was it. You don't see, it was all dialogue, a little bit of origin to it. We get kind of a character map, if you will, of everybody, and then now we got to wait till November. So
Right.
yeah, I can't say that I feel that we got cheated because I don't think we exactly did, but in the same token, come on, let's see Thunderhawk a little bit more, or
Yeah.
Switchblade or something.
I can see the criticism mainly. What I heard some people say is they look like the vehicles from some of the Transformers live action movies where they're just all guns, basically.
Right.
And you don't get. I guess the classic vehicles are more streamlined and so forth. And again, they're only using lasers, so they don't need the heavy artillery, but they're not battling Transformers in the classic series either.
True.
So, Eric, what do you think?
Well, I'm looking at issue 2 right now, and I think some of the vehicles are more successful than others, and I think that that's probably the first thing I want to note is that I think that Thunderhawk is really great. It seems to be, and it's very close to the original. Yeah, it's got guns on it. I mean, what did you want it to have? Like, it has to have weapons. So, I like Thunderhawk. I think Condor looks pretty good as well. The problem also with Piranha is that Piranha was always a little bit awkward.
Yes.
It's a motorcycle with this sidecar, and that sidecar turned into a submarine kind of thing. Like, let's be honest, Piranha wasn't that successful in the original series. So,
well, Rax wasn't a successful driver either. So,
you were kind of right,
yeah.
Wyatt. It's more of a three-wheeler now.
Yeah,
at least my take on it.
I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a three-wheeler or if it's supposed to be It's hard to tell.
The image that I see, and again, like you said, Eric, it is hard to tell. It still looks like they're trying to give it the reach back that it's going to be a two-wheeler with a sidecar. They're trying to modernize it, but to me, like you said, Piranha was kind of the oddball because it looked like it was supposed to be the newer crotch rocket style that was coming out for motorcycles, but they stuck a sidecar, which wasn't really all that typical of. Well, I don't think any crotch rocket that I know of had a sidecar. It was always a Harley or Goldwing or whatever.
Well, I always got the impression that it was more of a vintage America bike, like almost like a World War II style bike.
No, I never got that take out of it.
I'm not a big motorcycle guy. I mean, I don't know. Manta's okay. It's whatever. Shark is okay. I think the one that I do want to say that I'm not really super sold on is Switchblade. I think that it looks pretty cool as a military-style attack helicopter. But when it converts to the plane, it kind of just looks like someone smooshed the helicopter and ripped off the rotors. So
yeah,
I'm not in love with that. Rhino's fine to me. Rhino's got an actual trailer now.
Yeah, I was gonna say they gave it a trailer,
which I think that's cool. Actually, I think it give them some opportunities to do stuff with that. Looking back on it, it kind of never made sense. Rhino didn't have a trailer. Like, why is this?
Rhino did. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's like, why does this truck keep rolling up, but it doesn't have anything with it?
Well, I know when Jason and I originally wrote our script, we did have a trailer, and that was our really a haphazard repair shop for on the road.
Yeah.
That was the original intent. But then as we went back through it, we were like, well, it would be nice to have, but is it necessary? Not really. So we eventually omitted it, and now it's kind of odd to see it that
Yeah.
a trailer. I won't call it resurface because it was their idea, but it's like it did resurface in our take in Revolution 2 there.
With the new shark beside it in that one shot where you see all the vehicles together in kind of their normal mode. It almost reminds me of like Spy Hunter and the weapons van.
Yeah.
And the interceptors on the other side of it.
Yeah.
I thought they did a pretty good job updating the vehicles too. Obviously, they don't have a Chevy symbol on it, but it's a new Camaro.
Which is interesting that they didn't, because they licensed Chevy for the movies with Transformers.
Yeah, they did.
But
GM
the original M.A.S.K had
license.
tons of different manufacturers.
Yeah.
And just glancing over it, I'm not up to scale on my Porsches, but I don't think that's a Porsche, or
For
close
Shark?
to one for Shark. Manta looks like an Aston Martin to me, just the front of it. And with Piranha, there is one shot where it's actually got a gun coming out of the side.
Right.
And it does look
the
like
sidecar.
Yeah, it looks like there are at least two wheels in the front of it, and then there's two larger wheels in the back, or at least you assume that. But yeah, there's a huge gun that's out of the sidecar, so you can tell there's a little bit of change there. We don't know if Shark is going to be marine, being able to go in the water
Right.
yet. It's stuff like that
Something to remember.
still waiting for.
The art's probably not going to always be 100% lining up between the books, because it just happens in comic books. You've got the artist on Revolution is not the same as the artist on M.A.S.K.
Right.
And
Right.
it's comic books. They're paid for their style, but sometimes those styles mean one guy tends to put more his tweak this way, and one guy goes that way. So the vehicles may be a little bit different when Tony does it in November. I think Tony's style tends to be a little bit less like overwrought, a little bit like cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm expecting that when we see the M.A.S.K series start up, the vehicles may be slightly toned down. I still think they'll be modern. I don't think we're going to see 80s cars or anything, but I think they're going to be toned down a bit. Jason, do you want to talk about your little annoyance with the headshots at the beginning of the book?
Yeah, and again, like you said, I mean, these are different writers for than M.A.S.K Revolution and the M.A.S.K series. It's not Brandon. This is Bun Barber Ossio, I want to say his name is, and Chang. These are the four people that are on the cover.
Oh, those are not the writers. The writers are John Barber and Cullen Bunn, but Fico Ossio is the artist.
Names. Right. Well, the first two names are Bunn and Barber.
Right. Yeah, those are the writers.
So in other words, there's another team on this.
Right.
And the annoyance is for somebody who knows the series and have at least read the first, the one shot. You see Gloria's picture with Vanessa's name underneath, like in Revolution 2. And I believe in Revolution 1 they screwed up. Well, they put Bruno Shepard underneath Rax as well.
That's it. That's in number 3. They've got Bruno Shepard listed under. In Revolution.
No, this is number 2.
I'm sorry, number 2. They've got Bruno Shepard wrong. They've got Revolution 3. They got Sly Rax right, but they still have Gloria's picture for Vanessa. I will tell you that part of the book is probably not even done by the writers.
Right. And
So
it's
that's-
probably somebody moving an image around right before they're ready to go to press, and oh, we forgot to get their names correct.
Yeah.
And probably nobody is going to be too confused by it that are just coming into the series or just getting to know Mask. It's just those of us that it's like an annoyance to me. You can't even get the people right, and you're trying to introduce them.
Yeah.
So it is frustrating that they didn't pay a little more detail to that, and
that's just the world of comics.
I know.
I wish I had a better answer for you than that, but
so that's it's a negative thing for, like I said, for somebody like me and you guys who know the series and obviously know the characters, that it's wrong. But somebody else that's coming in, they're probably just getting to that first page where there's actual stuff going on and don't even pay any attention to that detail,
How do you guys feel about the Revolution storyline in general? Again, we kind of said that this is going to be a spoiler-included story, but basically it seems that Earth is kind of at war with the Transformers, but it's all because of the background problems caused by some things called the Wraiths, which I guess are shapeshifters, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about it?
I guess I'll go into it first. Am I still here?
Yep.
Okay. I was able to follow the story pretty well. Action Man and G.I. Joe, that worked well together seemingly. And I liked that there was a history there between, what was it, Mainframe or one of the G.I. Joe characters that knew Action Man. And so that was pretty well integrated there. And then, it's different having, at first it's different having Autobots and Decepticons on the same side, because this is like years after, Megatron's war, and Soundwave is right there alongside Optimus. So that's weird.
Yeah, and I guess that happened in a story that came before.
Yeah. And then, obviously, G.I. Joe and Transformers have squared off before, going all the way back to the 80s. I have a 4-issue series of G.I. Joe versus Transformers that's, I don't know, probably around 85 or 86. So there's a history there, but it's still kind of weird seeing them duke it out. It's good guys versus good guys sort of a thing, and there's different motivations there, and I think they've pretty much made that relatively clear. And for those who know ROM, I only got the free issue on Free Comic Book Day, which I thought was pretty well done. And if you know a little bit about ROM and the Wraiths, you know why he's in there shooting and killing G.I. Joes. You can kind of assume, at least, that these aren't the people that are actually there. And it's these Wraiths that have infiltrated G.I. Joe, essentially. And ROM's trying to kill them off. But there's some confusion there, because obviously you see G.I. Joes die, and of course they're going to want to avenge them, So there's that there's several different stories, and I haven't read number 3 yet, where they introduce Micronauts, and there's this whole other looks like some quest to kind of save their world. That's parallel to what's happening with this purple Ore 13 or whatever they're calling it. The substance that's
which is Energon.
Cybertron. Or
sort of.
I think they can convert it into Energon, is what they say. But anyway, so there seems to be several. It's almost like you've got several parallel lines that are going forward, and every once in a while there'll be a curve where a couple of them will meet and then come back out, to be parallel again. At least that's been my feeling so far through about 2.25 issues of Revolution. But I'll give Wyatt the floor. What has your impressions been of the first two that you've read?
Well, I'm actually kind of impressed with the story. Like you, Jason, you actually said most of what. Um, I guess I'm trying to figure out. Like you, it looks like it's a war between the Transformers and Earth.
Mhm.
What I've liked, I guess, overall, is actually they start getting into, at least M.A.S.K seems to that the Transformers have. They're actually not just straight out robots. They're actually a life form.
Right.
So you kind of get the humanity kicking in, and then that's where you see the deviousness coming out from Miles. So I like that spin that's going on, and I can't help but in the reach back to the 80s movie Transformers, where you see Optimus transformed into his truck, a very nice cab over truck, and he says, "That's a question you should ask yourself," which was an actual line from the
Right.
80s movies. So it's nice to see that. But uh, back to the overall story, I'm still trying to figure out exactly where they're going to go with this. It seems like I said, and even you've hinted that it's a war between Earth and Transformers, and it seems like they're all just looking for this Or 13 and
Yeah.
Energon, essentially. And I just like to see what's, like you and the rest of the readers, what's going on. Where is this going to go? How are they going to really integrate everything? Is it going to be M.A.S.K teaming up with Transformers, and then it's Decepticons versus whomever, or what's the correlation going to work out?
Well, one quick thing, and I'll let Erik talk about his impressions so far too, but it's all about perspective. And what I really took out of Revolution is, yes, there's this problem, this Or 13. And from the surface, Mayhem wants to look like he's doing the right thing, but he has, again, he's planning something to use that kind of technology and the Transformers technology to use for his purposes, you know. So that's even involved in the story. So there's several different, you can see the motivations from each side, I guess, is what I'm seeing so far. But go ahead, Erik.
I'm jaded. I don't really generally enjoy large crossover events, so I'll just throw that right out there. That being said, this one isn't too bad. It's I guess at this, going into it, my biggest fear was just that it would feel so clunky trying to integrate all of the different franchises together, and it hasn't really felt that way. I've been pretty happy with everything that's been going on. It's very light on the sort of subtle moments, which I wish it had more of, but that's what the main series are for.
Right.
Obviously, there's just so many different books going on, getting mixed together between Action Man, ROM, Micronauts, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and M.A.S.K. That's just a lot of properties to try to give screen time to. And, it's okay. It's fun. I don't mind it, and I'm happy for every moment of M.A.S.K we get. But to me, I think the M.A.S.K standalone series is going to just be leaps and bounds ahead of what Revolution is. Some people are really into those big crossover stories. They love seeing everybody come together, and
they're
I
still
liked
going
him.
on. Yeah,
I liked him. I liked him a bit when I was younger. I've said this before. I worked in a comic book store for a number of years, and I realized that for the most part, the main reason to do these big events is because it drives sales up, because you get people who buy books they wouldn't normally buy because they're about a character they don't care about, but because it references a story for a character they do care about. And that's kind of what was happening with Action Man for me. I was like, I don't really care about Action Man that much. It's kind of interesting, and it'll tell me more about what's going on with Mask. So it is a ploy to an extent, even more than having a cover that doesn't describe the art does. But I think it's okay. I'm really excited for the M.A.S.K series, though, and I think that's going to be. I'm just so driven to see that.
Yeah,
and that's exactly where I'm at with the book too. Again, I enjoy Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having fun with it, but I think I mentioned even recently, excuse me. It does feel like M.A.S.K is almost handcuffed in what they can do or what they can bring to the table when we want so much more. We want more agents. We want more vehicles, even though we've gotten a lot in Revolution 2. M.A.S.K is still kind of handcuffed to this Revolution timeline, and that's really not a negative thing. But for a fan like us, it just pushes us more towards November, when we're going to get the solo series and we're going to get to explore a whole lot more than we are now. It's almost just like a taste. We're getting a taste of M.A.S.K. We're getting a taste of their capabilities, the new characters. It's kind of a warm up, and then now for us, it's going to be all right. As soon as Revolution is done, number 5, which I think is either end of October or beginning November, we're right into the M.A.S.K series, and obviously that's an intention of releasing a new series like that, because Micronauts and Action Man and Brahm, they've already released several issues. So here comes M.A.S.K, and I believe they're doing another G.I. Joe series, or at least the G.I. Joe one-off is going to be, I think, released later. Anyway, I'm in agreement with you as far as it's good. I'm liking what I'm seeing with the integration, but there's a limit there, and we'll get more, hopefully, in November.
Yeah. So. And, Revolution will end. Let's all be aware that Revolution is not going to go forever. And my hope is that M.A.S.K comes out of it.
There is that they're calling it, I believe, Revolutionaries, a series that's going to start when Revolution ends, and it looks like it's going to be some kind of integrated team that's going to keep some part of the story going. I've seen an image. It does look like Thunderhawk is on the cover, but I didn't see any agents, so I'm not sure if M.A.S.K or maybe 1 or 2 of the agents or something is going to be included in that. But we've also seen Vanessa and Sly on, I believe it's an Action Man cover. So
yeah, but again, the covers don't mean anything.
Well, it's true.
I just don't want you to think that that's gonna.
Well, for me, and this is just me, I'm guessing probably you guys will agree, I'm waiting for the M.A.S.K solo series. I might glance at some of these other properties if they're including some of the M.A.S.K characters that I might enjoy, but again, I'm gonna be buying physical copies of the M.A.S.K series. I'm just downloading Revolution, so there's a difference there. I still think with
so you're just buying the digital copies
for Revolution, yeah.
Gotcha. I was not aware.
That's kind of my attitude. I want to have M.A.S.K in my hand and read it, flip through it, not virtually. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's just my attitude towards Revolution. In that I'll read it. I'll keep it on my my Google Play drive, but I want the physical copies of M.A.S.K to flip through and to keep in my physical collection. That sort of a thing.
That makes a
Anyway.
lot of sense. Yeah. I just hope that the regular Mask series gets enough love and attention out of Revolution that it can go for a while. And I know it's supposed to be ongoing, which means it doesn't have an end. I think it's probably likely that it will have an end. I don't expect it to continue for 50 years like Spider-Man. But I'd love to see a couple of years or a few years of good storytelling with Brandon or whomever he might pass it on to, just to give us some great new Mask stories. And the nice thing is when it's outside of Revolution, he's less constrained with what he can do, or with whatever any writer that takes over it. Because, like you said, Jason, he's trapped on the Revolution timeline right now. He can do he did the prelude because it happens before Revolution, but until Revolution kind of plays out however it's going to go, he can't get too crazy in the main Mask series.
Yeah.
Or else it just they won't line up. They won't overlap correctly. So I'm actually kind of looking forward, as much as I'm looking forward to issue 1, I'm really looking forward to Mask post-Revolution, I guess.
Agreed.
So.
Yeah, and I think all of us want more of whatever we can get, whether it's, keeping what Brandon has in mind going for a couple years, or bringing some other iteration of Mask alongside it would be fun too. But the cinematic universe, if we want to touch on that just for a minute, did you guys see the story that was up on Wall Street Journal?
Are you talking about the announcement of the writing staff?
It's not it just hit. I did a little blog post. This was just last week, or maybe the beginning of this week, that it was basically an update from the writers panel. We had talked about that. They'd been announced back in April, and that's when they were having their first meeting. Hadn't heard from them in 4 or 5 months. And the Wall Street Journal did an interview with them. And Ivica Goldsman, who is the kind of head of the writers' room for both, he was the one that did, for the Transformers and came up with all these new Transformers movies. And then they brought all these other writers in from, some of the Marvel universe and such. And made mention of M.A.S.K a couple times in the article, and the direct quote, and whoever was doing the interview or story had made a quote about how they were going to develop M.A.S.K in the cinematic universe. And it essentially came back to that comic book in 2011 that was like Unit E.
The one that was only at the convention, right?
Right. And Goldsman talked about it being set in Detroit, and it's going to be this young, diversified team. And they discover some kind of magical property to develop the masks and vehicles, essentially.
Right.
And I was like, what?
That was that idea that we all were kind of like, huh?
Yeah. See, now, to me, it just seemed like, okay, there's somebody at Hasbro that has this concept, somebody up high in the food chain that tried to convey that in that little comic book there on, it was like a spread, like 2-page spread.
Right.
That's still valid. It's still something they want to do and develop. And, nothing out of, didn't seem like much out of what we're going for in this comic book. But the only thing I could pull out of that was like, okay, so you've got, in the cinematic universe, you've got Visionaries, which is a magical property. So maybe that's why they're having to play out that angle to introduce visionaries into the world, and maybe they're handcuffed to that. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting that little nugget came out of this interview with one of those, with one of the higher up guys in the writing room.
Right.
That they would kind of revert back to something that we've already kind of seen,
sometimes those people
I don't know.
are given old information. I think that could be part of it too.
But not if they're given, I don't know. It just seems like they were turning over the reins to Goldsman, who has come through for them before. With, he in his writing room was responsible for the new Transformers movie that's coming out now, the Bumblebee solo movie, and then there's going to be another one right behind that they've only announced the release date in like 2019 or whatever. So to me, it was like, okay, here we're getting all these great writers together. You have at least the reins for now to come up with all these concepts and stuff, and then we'll go back and pick and choose what we like. But I don't know. It just seemed like there was an old idea that wouldn't have came from a fresh writer's room.
Right. I see what
they're
you're
going
saying.
for. And the other thing in the back of my mind too is, especially with this announcement of Hasbro's own convention. I don't know if either of you had seen that too.
Hascon.
Yeah.
Not a good name.
It's coming out next year. But, Hasbro's a toy company. Hasbro makes toys. They want to develop these ideas, these movies and, animated series, whatever. They're all geared towards so we can make toys, at least in my opinion. Obviously, they want their movies and stuff to make money. But the question is now, okay, if and when we ever see M.A.S.K toys again, is it just going to be one or two here at Hascon that are convention exclusives, that they're going to be like 50 of total ever made, that might be a throwback or might be a M.A.S.K character on one of their little action figure toy line guys, or where would a new toy line come from? Would it likely come after or right before a M.A.S.K movie is
I think
released?
it has to be with a movie. We're not going to see a toy line out of a comic book. It just isn't going to happen.
No.
I don't think we're going to see the original toys, only because I don't think that they have the original molds anymore. I think those are all sadly gone because, as we all know, M.A.S.K was Kenner, and then it was owned by Tonka, and it's moved too much.
To be honest, I don't know if I want the same stuff that we already have. There's obviously some vehicles like Shark that we'd all love to see
because we never
added.
had them.
Right, exactly. So I would like to see something like that, but I don't want to see another whole Series 1 toy line released. I'd rather have some new stuff, whether it's based on the classic series or something new. I think we all want new stuff, right?
Yeah.
I would be.
Or am I just totally crazy?
I wouldn't. I don't want to see necessarily a re-release of the old stuff, but it would be cool to see them re-release, but to do a new release of the old style Thunderhawk and Switchblade, and stop right there. So just give me those two, and then be done with the retro, and then I want to see new stuff, but I don't think we're ever going to see a toy line without a movie or a TV show. I don't think it's ever going to come from a comic book.
Not even a couple?
I don't think so. It's really unlikely, in my opinion.
What do you think, Wyatt? I know I'm off on a buddy trail, but
we are. We're on a.
Well, I'll have to
defer
to the comic book expert. I don't think. I honestly don't think we're going to see anything come out of comic books. But I guess there's always a chance of anything happening, especially if you do a GoFundMe or something.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I would lean towards if a show or a movie surfaces, then we would probably see something come out with it.
I'm getting more and more of the impression just from hearing that story about the writer's room, and then I'd love for Brandon to come on the show and talk a little bit more about him. But it seems like there are some absolutes that Hasbro is passing along to these creative people, that they are essentially having to work with and come up with some original stories based on those absolutes.
That makes
And what I
sense,
mean
though,
is,
given
I
that
know,
they've got that huge cinematic universe they're crafting.
right. But even, I don't know, it just seems like trying to adapt something from a comic book 5 years ago that nobody bought. I don't know. There's just something missing there to me. And it just seems like these guys aren't, at least maybe with some of these other properties that aren't so popular that everybody knows, Optimus, and everybody knows G.I. Joe, and these other smaller properties now that they're trying to integrate into a universe. It's like, okay, you're going to have to stay within this because we think this will work with the kids. You know what I mean?
And I'm sure there's a lot of that for the movie development, and not as much with the comics.
I don't know. It just seemed, it just kind of sucks to me. And again, we don't want to see something that we have, it's just mask and name only. We don't want to see that. But at the same time, you don't want to handcuff that creative person either from going down a trail or adding something in that might improve in this kind of modern age, But
right.
I don't know. I'm just totally spitballing on this and speculating.
You're just generating conversation. That's what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, it's interesting to me, and I'm eager to get that announcement of a M.A.S.K movie, and the other movies in the universe, and see what.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see those movies
out
for a long time, though.
Well, from what
we're not going to see a M.A.S.K movie for a long time.
Well, from what that I believe it was the Hasbro CEO that mentioned in that recent article that it's like essentially a 5-year plan,
right?
From start to getting to the point where they're finally releasing the plan and what they're trying to get as the result. So take that for what it's worth. It's going to be, at least probably 5 years from now before we get a M.A.S.K movie, if not more, which kind of sucks. But it's not to say that they can't.
Yeah, they could fast forward it if they just bought our script. We'd be done.
Well, it's not to say that they won't sneak Matt Tracker into a G.I. Joe 3 like we've heard rumors about, or one of the other characters into a movie to introduce M.A.S.K. Maybe it's the after credits scene for G.I. Joe 3 or something, but
it could happen.
Yeah, so we could get something maybe a little bit earlier than that. But anyway, I guess putting that to bed. What I mean, what do you guys think about how? Well, maybe I don't want to go there. I don't know. I feel like this is just from me and from our social media accounts, our blog, interaction with that. I feel like it's been received well so far. It's still early. And there's again some people that just they want the classic mask, and that's all they're gonna be satisfied with. And again, I don't have a problem with that. But as far as from what I've personally seen, and when I'm throwing up these variant covers and they're getting, 100 likes, and a couple commenters maybe like, what is this crap? It's overwhelming that people are excited that M.A.S.K is back. And M.A.S.K, if we really want it to come back, it's got to start somewhere.
Right.
And I feel like so far, we've got an issue and part of an issue and a small part of an issue so far. We haven't got that full series yet that we're all anxious to see, but I don't know.
Right.
I feel like it's been well enough received to.
And I think the sales have all been pretty good too. Which we can say what we want, but sales are really important. And
unfortunately, yes.
The companies they're out to make their money, which it's okay. I understand it. It's a sad fact of life that they can't keep making a comic if it doesn't sell, and so. Right. I'm glad to hear that M.A.S.K is selling decently.
Yes. And the other thing I want to mention too is, and I don't know if a lot of people have noticed this. I mean, there's only, I don't know, how many people have liked our pages collectively or whatever. And some people might have, might have liked your page and not ours yet. That sort of scenario.
A lot of overlap, though.
But for the most part, it just really seems like Brandon and Tony and Tommy, and to a certain extent, Fico Asio, I think his name is. Yes, that's been doing some of the Revolution cover and art. They've made an effort to get plugged in.
Oh, yeah.
And I see them on several different pages. I see them in the P&A group and some of the other Facebook groups. I see them on Twitter. When something like a cover or announcement or something, they're tagging us in it on both Facebook and Twitter. That says a lot to me, and they want to hear people's opinion. They want to be plugged in. They want to see how they can improve. They want to see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. And for somebody, like us who are really plugged into the community of M.A.S.K fans, to see them there and interacting is really cool. And I think it means something. It means something that some people that have been critical up to this point seen, and I think they need to know about that. They're really trying to get an overall glimpse of what people are feeling about this. And our community's small too, again. So I think a lot of them have tried to join groups and pages and stuff to get a glimpse of every little part of the community that they can, because we don't have one big, huge website somewhere with message boards that go on forever. Although, of course, Bill did at one point. He had a larger message board online, which is now a Facebook group.
He locked it down. It's available as an archive. I know he was just having tons of problems, unfortunately, with spam. People were going on and posting ads for nothing. Ads for used cars and stuff. I don't know.
But anyway, I just wanted to personally applaud and make known that from what I've seen in my unique perspective here, the creators of the comic book have really tried to plug into the fan community, and not just for reception, but also to take suggestions and interact. And it's really cool. It's really cool. I don't think you see that a lot. I'm not on a Transformers site or G.I. Joe site or anything like that, or He-Man. There's several of those out there and message boards and such. I don't know how much the creators go in and interact with the fans, but
probably not for Transformers a whole lot.
Well, from a 30-year-old franchise who, has fans in the thousands rather than the millions. It's just neat that they're coming in from down to the ground level, and they're pounding the ground, so to speak.
Yeah.
To really interact. I think that's really cool.
Oh, I love it, and that also I think speaks to what I was saying about how you can tell that there is a respect for the source. They're doing their homework, and they're making choices. So,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to throw some final thoughts out there. I feel like we've hit a lot of the topics that I would want to.
I hope so. And again, I wasn't trying to, I wanted to get some other perspective rather than ours, because I thought for the most part, at least, that we enjoyed what we've seen so far. And there's little things here and there that have hit a button from a 1985 perspective, but I didn't really go out and collect a whole lot of other critical comments to throw out there and just to talk about. But for the purposes of this show and all that, I thought we at least hit a few of the hot buttons. And I'm eager to essentially get to that M.A.S.K #1 in November.
Yes.
Pointing towards that. So.
Yeah, I think that's where we're all at this point, right? We're just really looking for that.
Yep.
Next step.
Right. Yeah. Next step in the comeback.
So. I'd love to jump back in here with you guys after we've got issue 1 on our hands and really can see what they're doing with M.A.S.K, because so far we've got some groundwork, but we don't have the future yet.
Right, and we don't know the extent of how far they're going to go either. So, are they going to? How deep are they going to go into each character? How deep are they going to go into
everything,
even the origin that they've set up? Right,
yeah.
Right.
And I'm excited. Really, I'm excited to get to live through that, if you will. Like, I want to see where they take it. So,
yeah,
should be pretty exciting. Wyatt?
Well, you've already said everything that I'm thinking. So, but I'm equally excited. I'd like to see what's going on with everything. I'd like to echo, like Jason said, that the community is there. The artists are looking at us for research. It's a great time for the M.A.S.K fan, especially to see it on the resurge, to see M.A.S.K come back out. So yeah, I'm just waiting for the next revolution, and I'm like you. I want to see where the real M.A.S.K #1 and when that actually takes hold.
Yeah, I don't think we've got an exact date yet. We know it's November. We know it's probably going to be after #5 is done in Revolution. So I'm
mid-late.
Maybe I'm hoping. Yeah, maybe around my birthday would be awesome.
All right, I
November
got one
13th.
last question that we can end this on. So we've seen 7 characters, 3 Venom agents and 4 M.A.S.K agents so far. Of the people who are, excluding those who are there so far, is there anybody that you'd really like to see show up in the book? And we don't need reasons. Let's just.
Well,
who do you want to see?
Actually, we've gotten 4 because we've got Bruno. Right?
Oh, you know what? I wasn't including Miles as one of them. Wait, no. We've got Miles, Vanessa, and Sly.
Right. We got Bruno,
and
a little bit.
So yeah, 4 and 4. You're right.
A little bit in the origin one. I don't know. Again, my favorite toy was Hurricane. So I don't know. It'd be like to see.
Hondo?
I want Hondo. Yeah.
Okay.
Give me some muscle on the M.A.S.K team. We've got these. it seemed like it was really kind of technical group in
Mhm.
the and I can't remember all the descriptions that they went through, the quick little descriptions of each character and what their specialty was. But, Gloria, Julio, Brad, Matt, they're all kind of skinny teenagers. Give me some muscle, to throw at Venom. Give me Hondo.
That makes sense. How about you, Wyatt? Who would you like to see pop out and join the ranks?
I this technician. I won't call him a father figure, but he's kind of more the mentor. It seems, at least in the series. So I'm kind of seeing what he would do if he'd be the mad scientist, or he'd be the whatever character they decide to kind of make him.
All right.
Yeah. Again, there seems to be, well, at least with Miles, there's some age there. There's some experience there. I wonder if they're going to introduce any other agents that are a little bit older on the M.A.S.K side, or if they're just going to go straight, 20-something agents.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see.
I'd like to see Buddy Hawks because he was always supposed to have these underworld contacts and stuff in the show, but because it was a little kid show, I don't think they were able to really do much with that. And
Right.
since this whole setting is much more adult, I think we could see some cool moments from him. He was always a little different than the rest of the team. Everyone else was, I don't know. There was always something about Buddy Hawks that I'm like, he's got to have done something bad somewhere along the line to know all these people, right? So I'd like to see him and then see some of that stuff happen. So
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know about the Venom side. You think of Nash Gory, he was kind of a pipsqueak. I don't know if you really want him back. Who else is there? Is Mayhem's brother going to make an appearance? I don't know. maybe
Maximus, I hope not.
Maybe he comes back and he joins the M.A.S.K team.
I guess anything's possible.
I don't know. I'm just spitballing again, but
yeah. Well, let's do this again once we've got issue 1 in our hands next month.
yes, I'm definitely want to, and maybe we'll get Bill to join us. I'm not sure what happened tonight. We were hoping to have him just for a fourth opinion, but I did want to make mention too. I think I might have at the top of the show, but go over to his site. He's got his little review of the comic, and of course, Erik said before, he's got his review of the M.A.S.K one shot, and you got reviews of Revolution too on your site.
Not full reviews. There, I touched on a couple of things from the M.A.S.K perspective.
Gotcha.
If I was going to go down the whole Revolution rabbit hole, I think I would just lose my mind. But I did want to address a couple of things that I saw that I thought M.A.S.K fans would be interested in.
Yeah, and you did. You have shared some pictures too of all the covers that you got featuring the characters and such.
I've been buying any of the covers that have M.A.S.K featured at least on some degree. So issue 2 I bought a lot of covers. Issue 3 I only bought a couple. So if IDW wants me to buy more, they need to up their M.A.S.K saturation.
And I got to vent really quick because I was so off this week. I decided, okay, I want to buy a variant cover for Revolution 3. I wanted to get the one that looks like it's Matt Tracker and a couple Micronauts, and they look like action figures hanging on a peg in a store. That was a really cool cover. I was like, okay, I'm going to get this one. I'm going to buy a physical copy.
Like this one?
Right. So I pre-ordered it through a company that I used before. Unfortunately, the pictures were incorrect on their website.
Oh no, they
So
sent you
I
the
got
wrong one.
I got a ROM variant for my number 3.
Ah,
So I'm gonna have to hit the. I don't know how many of the variants they sell in stores, but I'm gonna go check out the comic shops for too
well,
long here.
actually, I think you're in luck because I think that Matt Tracker action figure is the normal cover. I don't think that one's expensive.
No, it's a variant.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, it's like
okay.
variant D or something. They got C and D mixed up in Revolution number 3 on this website. And
Oh, weird.
anyway, I emailed them and told them their website was wrong. So hopefully people will not make the same mistake I did. But anyway, they've already reduced prices on a lot of these. I don't know about the physical copies, but you go over to Amazon. A lot of these are already $1. I think Mask Revolution is $1, the digital copy. So
Yeah.
take that for what it's worth. It'll prices will come down a little bit in a little bit.
They always will.
It's hard to, once you get invested in a series, to wait. But anyway, I had to vent a little bit there that I wanted that cover and I didn't get it.
Well,
So all right, well, we do appreciate you coming on, Erik, and
my pleasure.
we'll get you back on when that other book comes out, and we can dive into the solo series. So I'm still crossing my fingers that we might get Brandon and or Tony on the show to chat a little bit. And if they do come on, if we do work something out, I'll be sure to let at least our email crowd know that we're going to do that. Maybe we'll have you send in some questions to ask them, because I always like to take an opportunity if we got a chance to interview somebody, for everybody to also participate in that, whether indirectly through questions or something like that. But anyway, we appreciate you, man. It's always good to talk to you.
My pleasure. I always happy to talk about Mask, as you know.
Yeah.
Wyatt, are you still awake? I feel like
I'm
we
still
always
here.
dominate.
The sad part, you usually do, but actually, you know how we had our internet problems with you guys. Mine started acting up, so I heard like the last half hour or so. I've heard you guys cut in and out.
Oh boy, that probably does make it difficult to participate.
But you guys keep going, so that's why I think it's my problem, not yours.
Yeah, I've been hearing y'all steady and clear since we got going. But well, I've been happy to be on here and can't wait to come back.
Awesome, it's been a pleasure.
All right, well, I guess we'll let you take it home there, Wyatt.
Alrighty. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening to us, and thank you, Erik, once again for dialing in from all the way from California to talk M.A.S.K, even though that's like one of your top 5 things to do in the world. I want to thank my buddy Jason for also working through our host of problems with our internet to finally get to getting this accomplished. And yeah, this has been fun. I enjoy this, even though I'm not the comic book guy, but it's actually awesome. So please join us again for another episode of MASKast Chat.